Greetings, seekers of knowledge, and welcome to Resilient Islam. Today, we delve into one of the most captivating and profound mysteries mentioned in the Holy Qur'an, and the traditions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Ark of the Covenant, known in Arabic as Tabut-e-Sakina. This is not merely a story about a lost golden chest. It is a narrative woven into the very fabric of divine guidance, a symbol of Allah's covenant with humanity, and a timeless lesson about the true source of power and peace. Our journey will trace resilient Islam, from Musa and Harun to Dawood and Sulaiman, and finally to the final Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To understand the significance of this sacred object from a purely Islamic perspective, we will explore its origins, its purpose, its disappearance, and its ultimate meaning for us as believers today. This is an extended exploration, so settle in for a deep dive into sacred history. The meaning of the name, Tabut and Sakina. To understand its importance, we must first understand its name. The word Tabut in Arabic simply means a chest, a box, or a coffin. But this was no ordinary container. Its true significance lies in its second name. Sakina is a profound Quranic term that is often translated as tranquility or peace, but its meaning runs much deeper. It refers to a specific, tangible sense of serenity and certitude that Allah sends down into the hearts of the believer. It is a divine calm that settles the soul, banishing fear, doubt, and anxiety. It is a direct manifestation of Allah's mercy and support. Therefore, the Tabut-e-Sakina was not just the Ark of the Covenant. It was the Ark of divine tranquility, a vessel through which Allah bestowed peace upon His faithful servant. This concept of Sakina is mentioned multiple times in the Quran in the context of Allah supporting His prophets and the believers, such as during the Battle of Badr, making it a central theme in Islamic theology. The first mention, the sign for Prophet King Talut, Sol. The primary and most detailed mention of the Tabut in the Quran comes in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 2. The children of Israel had demanded a king from their prophet to lead them in battle against their oppressive enemies. Allah appointed Talut, Sol, a man of great physical strength and knowledge, but not from a traditional royal lineage. This appointment was met with skepticism and doubt from many among the Banu Israel. They questioned his credentials and his right to rule. To affirm Talut's divinely appointed authority, and to reassure the true believers, Allah provided a magnificence. Their prophet announced to them, "Indeed, a sign of his kingship is that the ark will come to you, carried by the angels. In it is Sakina, from your Lord, and a remnant of what the family of Musa, Moses, and the family of Harun, Aaron left behind." This announcement is profound for several reasons. First, its arrival was miraculous, borne by angels, leaving no doubt about its divine origin. Second, its contents were spiritually immense. The Sakina, a direct infusion of peace from Allah Almighty, and sacred relics from the households of two of the greatest prophets. Islamic scholars and historians, such as Ibn Kathir, have mentioned, based on transmitted reports, that these relics likely included the broken pieces of the original tablets of the Torah given to Musa, a.s., the staff of Musa, a.s., and the turban of Harun. These were not mere souvenirs, they were powerful symbols of prophethood, law, and divine authority. The arrival of the Tabut had an immediate effect. The hearts of the true believers were filled with certainty and calm. Their doubts about Talut vanished, replaced by a firm resolve and faith in Allah's plan. This event perfectly illustrates the primary function of the Tabut-e-Sakina as a divine instrument to strengthen the hearts of the believers, and to serve as a tangible sign of Allah's support for His chosen representative. The historical and spiritual journey of the Tabut. Following its appearance with Talut, the Tabut-e-Sakina became the most sacred relic of the Banu Israel. It was their spiritual heart, a physical manifestation of their covenant with Allah. It accompanied them into battle, symbolizing that Allah Himself was their protector and guide. However, the relationship between the Banu Israel and the Tabut was a reflection of their own faith. When they were righteous and obeyed Allah's laws, They were worthy of its presence and the blessings it carried. But when they fell into disobedience and corruption, they could lose its favor. Historical Islamic sources indicate that there were periods where the Banu Israel were defeated in battle, and the Tabut was captured by their enemies, such as the Philistines, as a punishment from. The narratives describe how the enemies who captured it faced calamity and illness wherever they took it, realizing it was a powerful object of divine origin that they could not control, and eventually returned it to the Israelites. This cycle underscores a critical lesson. The Tabut was a blessing from Allah, not a magical charm. Its power was derivative, entirely dependent on the will of Allah and the faith of the people. It could be taken away as a lesson and returned as a mercy. This establishes a key Islamic principle. Allah's signs are meant to guide people to Him, not to be worshipped themselves. The object itself had no inherent power. All power belonged to Allah. The era of prophets Dawood and Sulaiman. The Golden Age. The Tabut found its permanent and most glorious home during the reigns of the prophet kings Dawood, David, and his son Solomon. Peace be upon them both. After Talut, Dawood emerged as a mighty warrior and a righteous prophet. He unified the tribes of Israel and established Jerusalem, Al-Quds, as his capital. It was under his leadership that the Tabut was brought to Jerusalem with great reverence and celebration. The city now housed the greatest symbol of their faith. However, it was Prophet Sulaiman who was granted a kingdom unlike any other. Allah granted him power over the winds, the jinn, the animals, and the armies of men. With this divine authority, he undertook the construction of Bayt al-Maqdis, the sacred house, also known as the Masjid Al-Aqsa, or the Temple of Solomon. This was not just a building, it was the center of monotheistic worship for the world at that time. Upon its completion, the Tabut-e-Sakina was placed in its innermost sanctuary, the Holy of Holies. This placement marked the zenith of the Banu Israel's spiritual and political power. The Ark resided in a magnificent temple built by a prophet, in a city ruled by divine law. The Sakina was palpable, and the kingdom was a model of justice and piety, where all of creation submitted to the will of Allah, alongside Sulaiman This period represents the ideal state of the Tabut, honored, protected, and central to a society governed by prophetic guidance. The disappearance, a divine lesson in consequences. The Golden Age after Sulaiman did not last. After his passing, the kingdom fractured into two. Worse than political division was the spiritual decay that set in. Over generations, the Banu Israel once again fell into corruption. They abandoned the strict monotheism of their prophets, indulged in interest and oppression, and even killed the prophets sent to them to bring them back to the straight path. How could the Tabut-e-Sakina, a vessel of pure divine light and tranquility, remain amidst such escalating disobedience? The answer is that it could not. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, withdrew this great blessing from them. The most widely accepted belief, based on Islamic historical accounts, is that prior to the catastrophic invasion of Jerusalem by the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar II, the Tabut was hidden by righteous pious men. They, seeing the impending disaster as a punishment from Allah, secretly took the ark and concealed it in a safe, hidden place, perhaps deep within a cave or a secret chamber beneath the Temple Mount, to protect it from desecration by the invading army. The Babylonians razed the Temple of Sulaiman to the ground, took the people into exile, and the Tabut vanished from recorded history. Its disappearance was not a random historical event, it was a direct consequence of the people's abandonment of their covenant with Allah. The physical loss of the ark mirrored their spiritual loss of guidance. It was the ultimate symbol of Allah's favor being withdrawn due to persistent sin and rebellion. This serves as a powerful, eternal lesson for all nations. Divine blessings are contingent upon faith and obedience. When a people break their covenant with Allah, they risk losing the sources of their spiritual strength and protection. The Prophet Muhammad's Talamenjan and the Islamic perspective centuries after its disappearance, the memory of the Tabut had faded into legend. When Prophet Muhammad established the Islamic State in Medina, he interacted with Jewish tribes who still spoke of the Ark and its past glory. The companions of the Prophet Talut, curious about these stories, asked him about the Prophet Muhammad Talut, as the final messenger and the seal of the prophets, provided the ultimate clarification on this matter. He confirmed its existence and its historical reality, but he also recontextualized its significance for the Muslim Ummah. In one narration, the Prophet mentioned that the Ark would one day be returned, but his primary lesson was always to focus on the essence, not the artifact. He taught that the true treasure from the time of Musa, a.s., was not the golden chest itself, but what it originally contained, the uncorrupted guidance of the Torah. Islam came to complete and supersede the previous messages. For Muslims, the focus shifted inward. The Quran repeatedly emphasizes that Allah now sends the Sakina directly into the hearts of the believers. In Surah Al-Fath, Allah says, "It is He who sent down tranquility, Sakina, into the hearts of the believers, to increase their faith." Along with their faith, this Sakina comes through the remembrance of Allah, through prayer, through reading the Quran, and through unwavering trust in Allah. The physical ark was a sign for its time, but the essence of what it represented, divine peace, guidance and support, is eternally available to every believer through the teachings of Islam. The Quran itself is our eternal covenant, a guidance and a mercy that can never be lost or corrupted. Modern searches and Islamic theology. Where could it be? The mystery of the Ark's location has captivated people for millennia. From medieval knights to modern archaeologists, many have searched for it. Popular theories suggest it is hidden in a secret chamber beneath the Masjid Al-Aqsa compound in Jerusalem. Others believe it was taken to Ethiopia, where it is said to be housed in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Aksum, guarded by a single monk. There are theories about it being in Rome, or hidden somewhere in the deserts of Arabia. From an Islamic theological perspective, its exact location is unknown and is part of the unseen al-Ghaib. Only Allah knows for certain. However, many Islamic scholars, based on interpretations of Hadith and historical texts, believe it is indeed hidden somewhere in the vicinity of Jerusalem. Some narratives even suggest that the Tabut will be rediscovered at the end of times, towards the coming of Imam Mahdi, and will serve as a sign of the truth of Islam and a source of great joy for the believer. However, it is crucial to remember that in Islam, the discovery of relics, while significant, is not a core tenet of faith. Our faith is not dependent on finding a physical object. The greater search for a Muslim is the internal search for the Sakina in their own heart. The quest for the Ark should not become an obsession that distracts from the core tenets of worship and good character. Conclusion: the true Ark is in the heart. So, what is the ultimate lesson of the Tabut-e-Sakina for us today on Resilient Islam? Its story is a microcosm of the human relationship with the divine. It represents Allah's endless willingness to provide signs and support to His servants. It shows us that true power and peace come only from Allah, and are granted to those who are faithful and righteous. Its history demonstrates the consequences of turning away from divine guidance. But most importantly, the story of the Ark's disappearance reorients our focus. We are not meant to spend our lives searching for a lost physical object. We are meant to cultivate what that object represented. Each human heart is a potential vessel, a personal tabut. Our lifelong mission is to clean that vessel from the corruption of sin, pride, and worldly desires, to make it a worthy container for the divine Sakina. We do this through sincere faith, obligatory worship, seeking knowledge, and embodying the teachings of the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad. When we do this, we will find that the greatest treasure, the peace and tranquility of Allah, is not lost in a distant desert or a deep cave. It is waiting to be sent down into our own hearts, making us walking vessels of divine peace in a world that desperately needs it. The covenant was never truly in the box. It was in the message the box protected. And that message has been perfected and preserved for us in the Holy Quran. Thank you for joining us on this journey along Resilient Islam. May Allah fill our hearts with His eternal Sakina.